Today's notes are on 4.4 linear inequalities in two variables. Now, linear inequalities is an inequality in two variables whose graph is a region of the coordinate plane bounded by a line. Now, a solution to a linear inequality is a solution will either lie in the shaded region, that means it's a true statement, of the graph, or on the solid boundary line. The solution will make the inequality true. So first we're going to go ahead and we're just going to start by just checking a point. If the inequality comes out to be true, then yes, that is a solution to the inequality. So here it says, tell whether the ordered pair is a solution to the inequality. So what you have to do here is, that is a coordinate right there. That is an ordered pair. So I'm going to plug, that's going to be your X and that's going to be your Y. So wherever I see the X, I'm going to go and I'm going to plug in the number 8. So right here, how it says X, I'm going to put 8 minus where it says Y. On the Y, I'm going to plug in the number 3. And I have to see if that's less than or equal to 5. That semicolon just separates the equation or the inequality from the coordinates, okay? So now here, 8 minus 3 is actually 5. Now, this statement says 5 is less than or equal to 5. That is a true statement because 5 is equal to 5. So because that is true, then that means that the 0.83 is in this inequality. So 8.3 is a solution because that is a true statement. Next one. On this one, here's the inequality. There's a semicolon separating the inequality from the coordinate point. So this is X, this is Y. So now this is going to be 0.5. Now, because the Y is next to it, you're actually multiplying those two. So this is going to be 0.5. Where the Y is, I'm going to plug in the number 2 minus 0.5. And then the X is extra, so that's going to be multiplied. So 0.5. And then the X is going to be the number 6, is greater than 3.5. I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to type exactly the way it is. So I have 0.5 times 2 minus 0.5 times 6. So that equals -2. So this right here is going to be a -2 is greater than 3.5. That is not true. -2 is not greater than 3.5. So because it's not greater, this is a false statement. So because that is a false statement, 6.2 is not a solution. 6.2 is not a solution. Next one. So there's inequality. There's a semicolon separating the inequality from the point. This is going to be a 2 over 5. X is equal to 1 plus the Y is equal to 2 is greater than or equal to 2. I'm going to type this in the calculator. Now, when you type this in the calculator, make sure you put that in parentheses. You can use the ABC key if you want. I'm just going to type it in like this because I know it's going to calculate it correctly. So here's a parenthesis, 2 divided by 5, close my parenthesis, parenthesis 1 plus 2. So that's going to be 2.4. 2.4 is greater than or equal to 2. So this is true. So because that is true, the 0.12 is a solution. 1.2 is a solution. Moving on, when you are graphing linear inequalities, first you have to graph the boundary line. Now, when I say graph the boundary line, if you have a less than equal to or greater than equal to, this is going to be drawn with a solid line. That's going to be drawn with a solid line like this. However, if you have less than or greater than, that is going to be drawn with a dashed line. So the line needs to be clear that it is a dashed line like that. So that's what it talks about, the boundary line. So we are going to use slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay. Now we have to decide if the boundary line is part of the solution or not part of the solution. Is it solid or dashed? This is exactly what I was talking about. And then we have to decide whether the side of the boundary line contains the solutions. Either you shade up above the line or shade below the line. Now, above the line, if it is a greater than or greater than equal to, you have to shade above. If it is less than or less than equal to, you have to shade below the line. Now, before you decide shade above or shade below, the y value needs to be on the left side. Okay. Y value must be on left side. Okay, y value must be on the left side. So if the variable y is isolated by itself, on the left side, less than symbol indicates that you shade below. Remember, less than means down. Greater than means shade up. Greater than means shade up. You shade above the line. Okay, first thing I'm going to notice here. This is already in y equals mx plus b form. This is already in y equals mx plus b form. Here, this is y equals mx plus b. So there is an invisible 1 here. You just don't see it. So the m is the number 1. The b is the number -3. The b is the number -3. That is the less than symbol. That is the less than symbol. And there's no line on the bottom. So because there's no line on the bottom, it needs to be drawn with a dashed line. So dash line. And because that's less than, that makes an L for less than, I'm going to shade below the line. Now, when we are graphing, remember, this is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. I first need to graph the y-intercept. The B is the y-intercept. So your y-axis, it's going to cross at -3. So -1, -2, -3. And then the slope, this is the slope. Remember, on slope, always make it a fraction. If it's positive, you go up. If it's negative, you go down. And the number on the right, the number on the bottom always goes to the right. So I'm going to make this a fraction by putting it over 1. Positive means go up 1, 1 to the right. So right here, I'm going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect it. Now, when you connect your dots, you need to make sure you connect it with a dashed line. So I'm going to connect with a dashed line. And then when I say shade below, pick a point on the line and just shade down. And it's everything below the line. Now, what that means is any point that's down here is a solution to the inequality. Any point up here is not a solution. So these are all the trues. These are all the falses. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is in y equals mx plus b form. This is in y equals mx plus b form. The m is a -2/3. So the m is a -2/3. I always throw the negative on the top. The b is the number 3. The b is the number 3. If you are looking at this inequality, you see the line on the bottom? The line on the bottom means it's a solid line. So I'm going to draw a solid line here, like this. And then that is the greater than symbol. That does not make an L. So greater than means shade up. Then I'm going to shade up. First thing I need to do is graph my y-intercept. My y-intercept is the number 3. That's where you're going to start at. Y-intercept is at 3. 1, 2, 3. Now the m is the slope. Negative means go down 2, 3 to the right. So down 2, 3 to the right. Down 2, 3 to right. At least draw like 2 or 3. You can draw at least 3, just so that when you're connecting the dots, it doesn't go sideways. Now remember, you're going to draw it with a solid line. That's a solid line. And then you have to shade above the line. So pick a point on the graph and shade everything above it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip the page. On this one, this is not in y equals mx plus b form. So I need to solve for y before I can graph it out at all. Now, yes, that is going to be a solid line. However, you cannot say shade below, because if you divide by a negative somehow, you end up flipping it. So here we have a 2x plus 3y is less than or equal to 6. I am solving for y. Do not touch the 3. The 3 is glued to the y. You need to move the 2x on the side. Opposite of plus 2x is minus 2x. So I'm going to minus 2x, minus 2x. One time on this side, one time on that side. Now I'm left with a 3y is less than or equal to 6 and 2x are not like terms. But I'm going to put the 2x first. And that's a negative. I'm still solving for y. So I need to get rid of the times 3. Opposite of times 3 is divide by 3. Now that 3 is underneath both of those terms. So this is going to be a y is less than or equal to, that's negative 2 over 3, negative 2 over 3x plus 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2. This is what you are graphing right here. That is what you are graphing. If we are looking at the symbol right here, once again, that is a solid line because there is a line on the bottom. That is a solid line. And that makes an L for less than. So less than means to shade below the line. Less than means to shade below the line. In this case, the m is a negative 2/3. So m is equal to negative 2/3, and the b is equal to 2. The b is equal to 2. Now the b is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is at 2. So here's the y-axis. I'm going to go to positive 2. 1, 2. Now the m, keep in mind, if your m, it's always going to be a fraction. If it's positive, it goes up. If it's negative, it goes down. And the bottom always goes to the right. Because that is a negative number, it's going to go down to, the bottom goes to the right. The top accounts for the negative. That's why the bottom just always goes to the right. So I'm going to go down 2 from here. So 1, 2, 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. Down 2, 1, 2, 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now remember, when you are connecting your dots, you need to draw a solid line. That is a solid line. And then you shade below the line. So pick a point and you're going to shade everything below it. Next one. Once again, I need to solve for y. So here I have a 2x minus 5y is less than negative 10. If I'm solving for y, I cannot touch the 5 yet because the 5 is glued to the y. I need to move the 2x first. So I'm going to minus 2x minus 2x. So then this is a negative 5y is less than. Now those are not like terms, so they need to be written separately. I'm going to put the x first. That's a negative 2x minus a 10. Now go back to here. We are solving for y. I need to get rid of negative 5. Now that negative 5 is being multiplied to the y. You just don't see that symbol. And the opposite of multiply negative 5 is divide by negative 5. But something's going to happen here. Whenever you divide by a negative, that inequality symbol needs to flip. So it's no longer going to be a less than, it's going to be a greater than. Because you divided by a negative. And then right here, a negative makes that a positive, and that's 2 divided by 5, so that's 2 over 5x. And then right here, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 10 divided by 5 is going to be the number 2. So this is what you are graphing. There is no line on the bottom, so that is going to be a dashed line. That is going to be a dashed line. And then that makes a greater than symbol, so you need to shade above the line. At the very beginning, it showed less than, but you can't say, oh, shade down. You have to wait till the y is all by itself on the left side to tell me which way to shade it. Now, in this case, your m is going to be the 2/3. So the slope, which is the m, is, 2/5, sorry, is the 2/5. And then the y-intercept, which is the b, is going to be the number 2. So I need to graph the y-intercept first. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the number 2. So 2 is right here. Now the slope is 2/5. Positive means go up, bottom always goes to the right. So up 2, 1, 2, 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to be able to go up 2 over 5 again. However, I know that the graph's going to go like this. So if I really wanted my third dot, I'm going to go down 2 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can do that because look, it's still going to be in a straight line. Now, before I connect my dots, make sure you're drawing a dashed line. So a dashed line. So keep lifting up your pen or pencil. And then you're going to shade up. So pick a point on the line and shade everything above it. Now, I want you guys to try 1A and 1B. Go ahead and hit pause and shade them, and then go ahead and hit play and see if you guys got them right. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Right here, that is already in y equals mx plus b. So I can automatically graph it right now. Because the line is on the bottom, that is going to be a solid line. And then that is the greater than symbol, so that means to shade up. Since this is mx plus b, my slope is going to be the -2. So the slope, which is the m, is a -2. And the b, which is the 5, that's going to be your y-intercept. So the y-axis is going to cross at 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My slope, I'm going to make that into a fraction. Negative means go down 2, 1 to the right. 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 You're going to connect it with a solid line. And then shade up. So pick a point on the graph and just go up. And that's going to show you what side to shade. Right here, y is not solved for, so we need to solve for y. So we have a 3x minus a 2y is greater than 6. If I'm solving for y, I need it. You can't touch the 2 yet because the 2 is glued to the y. You need to move the positive 3x. Opposite of plus 3x is minus 3x. So now I have a negative 2y is greater than, those are not like terms, so I need to keep them separate. That's negative 3x plus 6. I'm still solving for y, so I need to get rid of the -2. So I'm going to go ahead, and because right now the 2 is being multiplied to the y, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide it. So divide -2, divide -2. So then y is greater than, a negative makes that a positive, and that's 3 over 2x. 3 over 2x. Right here, a positive and a negative makes that a negative, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. This is what I'm going to be graphing. There is no line on the bottom, so this is going to be a dashed line. And that is the greater than symbol. Greater than means to shade up. Now your slope here is going to be 3/2. The slope here is going to be 3 over 2. The y-intercept is going to be -3. So on the y-axis, I need to look for -3. So -1, -2, -3. That's where I'm going to start at. And because the slope is positive, I'm going to go up 3, 2 to the right. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 to the right. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 to the right. Connected with a dashed line. And then it says shade up. So now pick a point and shade everything above that line. All right. Next ones. Inequalities in one variable of a coordinate plane. Now, if you notice right here, that just says x is less than or equal to 3. Now, this is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Now on this one, you are missing the y value. So because you're missing the y value, guess what? The graph is never going to cross the y line. It's going to run parallel to it. It's never going to cross the y line because there is no y in here. Now, you see the line on the bottom? That means it's going to be a solid line. That I do know. It's going to be a solid line. And that is the greater than symbol. So keep in mind, it's the greater than symbol. I'm going to look for x is 3. X is 3 is right here. 1, 2, 3. What that is you're going to have a straight line going up and down, and that's going to be a solid line. It is a solid line going up and down at 3. Well, you can't really tell there. And then, because it's a greater than symbol, think about it. Greater, does that mean towards the positive x values or towards the negative x values? Greater means towards the positive. So you're going to shade everything to the right side. One thing I must point out about this is not a y inequality, okay? The y is missing, and the greater than symbol just meant shade to the right. Now remember, this has no slope. This has no slope because it is a vertical line. On this one right here, it's missing an x. So guess what? It's never going to cross the x-axis. It has to run parallel to it. It's never going to cross the x-axis. It's going to run parallel to it. And you are looking for y at -1. Well, -1 is right here. This is going to be a dashed line. It is a dashed line because there's no line on the bottom. And that makes an L for less than. That means less than. So -1 is right here. It's going to be a dashed line at -1. And because it says less than, you have to shade below that dashed line. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the next page. Now I want you guys to hit pause, and I want you guys to try 2A and 2B, and then hit play. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start these right now. This is going to be a solid line because there's a line on the bottom. And that is the greater than symbol. That is the greater than symbol. There is no x. So guess what? The graph is never going to cross the x line. You are looking for y equals -2. Well, y is -2 down here. And you're going to draw a solid line. And then because it's greater than meant shade up. Greater than meant to shade up. All right. Next one. On this one, that is going to be a dashed line. And that is the less than symbol. That is the less than symbol. So you're going to have to shade below the line. So right here, this is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. There is no y here. So guess what? It's going to run parallel to the y-axis. And that is x equals 1. So x equals 1 is right here. I'm going to draw a dashed line going straight up and down. Look, it's never going to cross the y-axis. And then less than means shade towards the negatives. Okay? Less than means shade to the left. Shade towards the negatives, not the positives. Now on the next one, these are a little different. The graphs are given and now they're asking for the equations, okay? So right here, we know that it's going to be y equals mx plus b. We know it's going to be y equals mx plus b. The b is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is right here. That is +1, +2, +3. So this right here is going to be +3. That is the y-intercept. So where the b is at, I'm going to put the number 3 there. So B equals the number 3. Now your slope, when you are picking another point on the graph, you don't want to pick something like right there in the middle, because right there, I know it goes up one, but it looks like it goes over a half. I want to pick a point that I can exactly tell the coordinate, like right there. Now that's going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So the M here is going to be up 2 over 1. So the M value is going to just be the number positive 2. So it's going to be a 2x. And remember, the B value was the number 3. Now the inequality. This is going to be a dashed line. We see that it's dashed. So guess what? I don't want an equal to sign. And this is below the line. So because it's below, think about it. Is it less than or greater than? It is less than. It is less than because it's below the line. And look, it is dashed. I didn't draw a line on the bottom. Next one. Once again, this is y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. This right here is your y-intercept. So that is your y-intercept, which is the b value, and that equals a -1. That equals a -1. Now your slope, when you're picking another point, pick a point that you can tell what the coordinate is. Even if you pick right here, that's okay, because it will reduce to this one. Now right here on the M, you are going down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2, so down 1 over 2. Even if you went down 2 over 4, that reduces to -1/2. And then, so right here, you're going to have y. The M is going to be a -1/2 x. The B is going to be a -1. Now you are shading above the graph. Above means the greater than symbol. And because that is a solid line, I want the line on the bottom. I want the line on the bottom. Go ahead and hit pause and try the next two. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start solving those. So right here, your y-intercept is at the number 1. So the y-intercept is at a +1. That's going to be your b value. Now to find the other point, I'm going to pick either this one or this one. And look, it goes down 1 over 2. Down 1 means -1 over 2 to the right. So your slope is going to be down 1 over 2. Oh, the equal sign. Now on the equal sign, I don't want an equal sign, I want an inequality. So I shouldn't have put that there. Okay, so on the inequality, because it is shaded below, you want a less than symbol. Less than means shade down. And this is dashed. So I don't want the line on the bottom. Do not draw the line on the bottom. Do not draw the line on the bottom. Right here, my y-intercept is at -1, -2, -3. So right there, my b value is going to be a -3. Now, let's see a point. I don't want to pick, oh yeah, I could pick that one because it's on the coordinate. And look, it's going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So up 2 over 1, that's just going to be the number 2. So this is going to be y equals mx plus b. So it's going to be y equals, the m is going to, I keep putting equals, sorry. I don't want to put equal because I know I need an inequality. Okay. So the m is going to be the number 2, x, and then b is going to be a -3. Now for the inequality, it's shaded up. So shaded up means greater than. This means greater than. So I want the greater than symbol, and because that's a solid line, I want the equal to on the bottom. I want the equal to on the bottom. All right, word problem time. So right here, it says the Science Club sells t-shirts for $10, each and keychains for $2 each to raise money for a field trip. They need to raise at least $500. So can they make more than 500? Yes, they can. How many t-shirts and keychains could they sell to meet or exceed their goals? Okay, so X is going to be the number of t-shirts. And how much do t-shirts cost? T-shirts cost $10. So you're going to have to take X, and that's going to be multiplied by 10 because that's the number of t-shirts. And then the keychains is the Y, and the keychains cost $2. So that's where I'm going to get 10 times X plus 2 times Y. Now they need to make at least $500. Well, when you are drawing your inequality, this side can be more. So that side can be more, and it can actually equal the 500. So now when I go ahead and I'm going to solve this, I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph it so that I could tell all the different combinations that I can use here. So I have 10x plus 2y is greater than or equal to 500. I am solving for y. So I first do not move the 2. You want to move the 10x. So I'm going to minus 10x minus 10x. So I have a 2y is greater than or equal to negative 10x plus 500. I'm now going to divide by 2 because I'm solving for y. So y is greater than or equal to negative 10 divided by 2 is a negative 5x. And then 500 divided by 2 is going to be 250. Now, when you're graphing this, we are definitely not going to go by ones because your y-intercept has to be 250. Your slope is going to be a negative 5. So if the m is a negative 5 and the b is going to be a 250. On my scale, I'm going to go ahead and every 2 markings is going to be 50s. So I'm going to go by 50s. So here's 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. On my X, I'm going to go by just 20s. So this is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. It's going to be hard for you just to graph it. You could definitely put the y-intercept. The y-intercept is at 250. 250 is right here. Your best bet is plugging in numbers and drawing the line. Because if you try to go down by negative 5, you can't do that because your increments are not by 5s. Let's say I plug in the number 20 into here. So using my calculator, negative 5 times 20 plus 250, that is equal to 150. So right here is going to go down to 150. Let me plug in the number 40 now. So negative 5 times 40 plus 250, that gives me 50. Uh-oh, sorry, let me turn on the light. Okay, that's going to go to 50. So at 40, I'm going to go up to 50 and put a dot there. So I can go ahead and I can draw my line now. And then that is the greater than symbol, so everything above the line. Keep in mind, X represented the t-shirts. And Y represented the keychains. They can basically sell any combination right here. They can sell 60 t-shirts and 150 keychains, and that works. They can sell 40 t-shirts, but if they sell 40 t-shirts, they have to sell more than 50 keychains, 50 or more keychains. Anything up here will work, okay? So right here where it says interpret, any point in the shaded region or on the solid line, because any combination on the line also works, because that's where it equals the 500. On the solid boundary line is a solution. However, you cannot have negative t-shirts. So you can't have like, and even though like technically on this side it is shaded, we can't have negative t-shirts and then more keychains. Same with vice versa. You can't have negative keychains and shirts still. So just keep that in mind. However, it is not possible to have negative t-shirts or negative keychains. Therefore, these points are excluded from the graph. All right. Next one says try 4. Will the science club meet their goal if they sell 30 t-shirts and 90 keychains? Well, let's see here. If this is our inequality, we have a 10x plus 2y. Is that greater than or equal to 500? Now, keep in mind, x is a t-shirt. So right here, they're saying 30 t-shirts. So I need to plug in 30 t-shirts. So that's going to be 10 times 30 plus 2. And the keychains is 90. I need to see if that's greater than or equal to 500. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in my calculator. So I have 10 times 30, 10 times 30 plus 2 times 90. And that equals 480. That equals 480. 480 is not larger than or equal to 500. So this is false. So will they meet their goal? No, they will not. They will not meet their goal if they sell 30 t-shirts and 90 keychains. I could have also told by the graph, look, 30 t-shirts is right here, 90 is right here. Notice how it's not shaded. So they're going to barely miss it, and they barely miss it by $20. All right, let's check for some understanding. Right here. How does a graph of a linear inequality in two variables help you identify the solutions of an inequality? The solutions are located in the shaded region or on a solid boundary line. How many solutions does a linear inequality in two variables have? Well, they can have a lot because it's all the shaded region. There are infinitely many solutions the solutions are located in the shaded region or on a solid boundary line. Next, it says, in what form do you write one of the solutions of an inequality in two variables? So each solution is in an order pair. Next one says a student writes an inequality for the graph below. Okay, and then it says, what is the error? Now, let's first look at this. Right there, I automatically see it. That boundary line should have been a solid line because that says greater than or equal to. So the boundary line should have been solid. The boundary line should have been solid. Now, let's see, the y-intercept is at 1, and then it is going down 1 over 2. So the line is actually graphed correctly. It's just the boundary that's incorrect. Now it says tell whether each of the ordered pair is a solution. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in. So the y is going to be the 1 is greater than or equal to x is 0 plus 1. That is not true. 1 is not greater than 1. It's equal to, but it's not greater. So right here, this is not a solution. Okay, the y is going to be a 5 is greater than the x is a 3 plus 1. So that's 5 is greater than 4. That is correct. 5 is greater than 4. So this one is a solution. All right. Next, I'm going to graph this. This is going to be a solid line. And that is the greater than symbol. So greater than means shade up. Now, mx plus b, mx plus b. Notice that there is no plus a number or minus a number. So that means that the b value is 0. The m is what's next to the x. So the m is going to be a 2. So the m is going to be a 2. The b is going to be a 0. So the y-intercept is at 0. M, that goes up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. That is the solid line. And that is the shade up. This is going to be a dash line. And that makes an L for less than. That makes an L for less than. Less than means shade below. Less than means shade below. Now this is going to be your mx plus your b. Now there's an invisible 1 here. You don't see it. So the m is actually a negative 1. M is a negative 1. The b is a negative 2. So my y-intercept is at negative 2. And then it's going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. I'm going to connect it with a dashed line. Uh-oh, it doesn't look dashed, but it is dashed. Trying to exaggerate the dashed. And then I need to shade below the line. I need to solve for y first. X minus 2y is less than 6. If I'm solving for y, I need to move the x first. Negative 2y is less than negative x plus 6. Those are not like terms, so I need to write separate. Now, when I divide by negative 2, that inequality symbol is going to flip. A negative negative makes that a positive. Now, that's going to be a positive 1/2 x. 6 divided by negative 2 is going to be a negative 3. This is what you are graphing. Now, that right there is going to be a dashed line. That is a dashed line. And since that is the greater than symbol, you have to shade up. So this is your y. My y-intercept is at 3. And then m is going to be a 1/2. So that's up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Connect it with a dashed line. So dashed line, and then shade above the line. And now that concludes our notes.